Today we are taking a look at Bark River Knives Pigsticker 2nd generation. Not that there is that much of a difference between the first and the second. I'd guess the handle, this is the new Bravo handle, so that is the one difference I am guessing. So this is a pretty different design. I think it's the only Bark River with this specific fuller design, and I think it's kind of cool in some sense. You know, it's very different. Not something you see very often on any type of knives from any maker. This one is of course with pink G10 scales, black liners and mosaic pins, my standard configuration, and also the only pig sticker that I got in this latest run. I ordered it without a ramp, otherwise it would have been a not your typical Bravo ramp or Bark River ramp, but nonetheless sort of a ramp here. I just prefer rampless knives. It's my personal preference, so that is the way it is. If I could turn back time, I would have also added a nice swedge grind, which would have made it even more, stabby, since that is the intended use of this knife. I could of course still send it in and have a swedge added, but since I live in Europe, in Sweden, I'm not gonna have my knife sent away like that. But if there is a future run of these specific models, a swedge will be requested. Regardless, let's take a look at the design here. You can see that there's an extended lanyard hole there, or lanyard extension, but there's also an ordinary lanyard hole as well. The steel used for this knife is CPM 154, and I guess that is a pretty suitable steel, since this knife is supposed to get bloody and messy when in use. And as we all know, CPM 154 is sort of on the stainless side, but it's still, pretty tough steel, not too hard to sharpen, so it's got a lot of benefits. And I think it's absolutely the right type of steel for this specific model. The overall length of this knife, I did not bring the specs, but I would estimate it's almost 14 inches in overall length, and I would say that the blade length is just a tad bit less than 9 inches. But you do have the full specs regardless in the beginning of this video, so you can always go back and look there. The spine thickness is 0.250, so as some of you might have understood by now, this is actually a somewhat, heavy knife. And to be honest, I would not have minded if it was a tad bit thinner. I mean, if I went with the swedge, it would have been slightly lighter and slightly thinner in parts of the knife. But it is kind of a thick, heavy knife right now. Still very, pointy, stabby, but not super swift and light in hand, if I put it like that. I think the knife looks really good. It's pretty awesome, to be honest, and I hope I will actually get to use it for the intended use sometime. We do have a lot of wild boar where I live, so maybe I can actually put it to some good use one day. This knife was made actually in a pretty small run. I think almost all of the knives were actually pre-orders, and that means that it's kind of hard to get right now. I don't think any of the two large retailers have any of them in stock right now. I mean, you can always check it out, but I'm fairly sure there are none in stock. But there's always a secondary market, so you can probably find both from the first run and from this the latest run, with the difference being the handle, and it's saying first production run on this side of the knife. I'm not 100% sure what more I can say and do with... Oh wait! We do have the sheath, of course. We can take a look at that. This is the standard sheath that comes with the knife. I think that there are a few people who weren't super excited with it. Me personally, I don't have any, issues with it. I wouldn't have minded the new, Bravo type sheath that John Martin and skin benders make. But I think that this sheath is quite sufficient. But when I use it, if I actually wear it in my belt, I will put a dangler attachment, most likely the custom number 3 dangler, and use it like that. Otherwise it will be, it's gonna ride a bit too high and too tight. So a dangler would be a good thing for me, and I do have a couple of them, so it's not like I need to do any extra investment. And as you can see down here, or maybe you cannot see it, there is actually a magnet here which makes the knife sit tight in the sheath, not dropping out. So that is the sheath design. I'm not sure if this is the type of sheath that came with the first production run of the Pigsticker, since that was well before my time. In fact, I'm not even sure when it was released to begin with. So knife in hand feels good. I would feel comfortable doing some light chopping and stuff with this knife. I know the steel will hold up somewhat well. I mean, it's not CPM 3V, but it's still a pretty somewhat tough steel. So I mean, you can probably do a lot of things with this knife, should you want to. And if I do decide to make an actual video review and not just an overview like this video, I will indeed try to do some light chopping, batoning, feather sticking, bit of carving, bit of this and that. Man, I think this is a really cool looking knife, to be honest. I mean, it's a nice collector's item as well. And I do regret not making 1 or 2 more pre-orders, but happy I got this one at least. So yet again, one of my short videos, but I'm not slacking behind, really, but I do have a few more models that I need to show, so that is why I'm going for these sort of short overview videos, just so that people can get a look and a feel of the knives in question. Yep, over and out.